Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Ooh. That's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are you all doing? I hope you all had a great week. I hope you all had a great time. And I hope you all had a nice little weekend to go and refresh yourself as we go into this brand new week. Well, Gordon ZX definitely agrees with me right there. Yet, I would like to go and say happy Black History Month, everyone. I know that technically we're already in a few days in the month of February, but then again, we're celebrating all month long, so we're only late if we would go and say that in March. But yes, this is just a quick reminder that it is very important to learn about Black history, considering that there have been many Black people throughout time that have made a very significant impact in our culture, and especially in this very divided age, it is very important that we learn about how our society has been crafted and the people who have crafted them, especially when it comes to the people in which their race has often been an obstacle in their lives, which is the case with many Black people. Which is why a lot of them have been highly noted, regardless if it is Martin Luther King, I was about to say Muhammad, but no, that what is it? Malcolm X. There we go. Oh, I was thinking of also Muhammad Ali also, so there is that too. So yes, please don't forget to go and learn your Black history. So that's just a quick little message that I want to go and say there. But anyways, moving on to this episode, we got a good mix and match of different stories that I have for you today. Some were a bit last minute to go and add on to, some that we have known for a few days now, but I'm sure with the culmination of everything together, it will still result in one heck of an episode. So, with all that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Now, let me go and hear it, folks. Are you ready right now? Let's see. All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. King Cerulean is definitely ready. He told me so right there. All right. Let's see. People are ready. Okay. That's great to see. So now, since everyone is ready, people are all set, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with the first story that I have for you today, what I have is actually something in relation to Netflix. Now, once again, I know that Netflix is not necessarily... Oh, wow, even more subs coming in. And we have a hype train incoming. Holy crap. So far, things are already starting to get very exciting here. At least on my Twitch channel of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Trust me, if you guys are watching this or listening to this in other services like YouTube or in Spotify or iTunes or stuff like that, consider joining me on Twitch on AniMat's Live. Trust me, the energy is always high. It's always fun interacting with the chat wall. So if you want, like, come and join me right over here. Like, if you want some of that piece of excitement that I'm living here right now, along with everyone else too. But anyways, enough promotion of myself. What I am talking about here is in regards to Netflix. Now, I know recently they're not the most highly acclaimed studio, or they're not the most beloved studio, especially with all the backlash that they've been getting, considering that they are starting the process of trying to ban, they're trying to ban password sharing. Like, now they're in the process to actually go and move forward with it, in which a lot of people are understandably upset about. But we're not here to go and talk about that. we are actually here to talk about a brand new teaser that, as I am recording this today, they actually just went out and released it. And this isn't just any new series that they have coming out. This is actually going to be a collaboration of Netflix and Sony Pictures Animation to bring in the studio's first adult content that they are going to go and release. So, without further ado, let us go ahead and we start things off by checking out the teaser trailer for the upcoming Netflix adult animated series, Agent Elvis. So let me just go and set things up and let's have this trailer ready to go. Agent Elvis, in which the series will be coming out on Netflix starting this March. When specifically, well, we don't know yet, especially when, well, technically this trailer just came out. And like I said before, considering that this is also coming from Sony Pictures Animation, not only is this their first original series that they're going to go and release, but this is also the first adult animated content that Sony Animation is going to put out. And hopefully it won't be the last either, especially when technically they are also at work on the Genndy Tartakovsky movie Fixed, which they also promised that one is going to be rated R as well. So this is all part of the brand new chapter that we are experiencing with Sony Pictures Animation. Well, I don't know if I can necessarily say that it's new, considering that the new chapter, or like the chapter we are in right now, started with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and then, well, they just continued on from there. But as I was saying, this is pretty much more of Sony Pictures Animation actually experimenting with new genres, experimenting with new types of content, really going beyond their boundaries to go and experiment with animation. And in this case here, that's exactly what they are doing with Agent Elvis, which is this crazy new action-packed animated series in which it is actually based on a conspiracy theory. Now, this is not some weirdo idea that they just thought up on the spot. This is actually based on one of the many conspiracy theories in relation to Elvis Presley, in which some people think that throughout Elvis's life, he was actually a secret FBI agent, and that his whole claim to fame of being this rock and roll pioneer, this musical icon, is just it's just a mask to go and like give him an excuse to travel around the world so that he can go and spy on like enemy territory and all that kind of crazy weird stuff. I mean, again, this is just a conspiracy theory. I think it's safe to say that it's not true, but here comes Sony Animation and Netflix, where they're taking that theory and they thought to themselves, well, what if this is actually real? And also, another thing that I do want to point out, this isn't necessarily the people at Netflix and Sony that thought this up, because one of the co-creators of this is actually Elvis's own wife, Priscilla. Or is it just Elvis's? I don't know. I think I put in one too many S's on that phrase. But to go specifically, to go into the description of the trailer, this is actually created by Priscilla Presley and John Eddy, in which also John Eddy is going to be a showrunner alongside Mike Arnold. And another thing, and I will say this is actually a surprising element that I did not expect from this teaser trailer, but at the same time, they've also revealed who is going to be playing Elvis in this case, which is actually none other than Matthew McConaughey. And even when you do listen to, when you listen to Elvis talking in here, like, it's actually obviously Matthew McConaughey. Like, let's just have a bit of a listen once again to his voice. Wow, just my luck. I picked one thing that you don't hear Elvis's voice. Okay, I think like maybe screw it, we'll go over here.
I was winging it. How's it? Just a pen.
It's funny because like that's not the Elvis voice that you would normally think. This is just like, it's Matthew McConaughey being Matthew McConaughey. In fact, I would even go and debatably say that this voice is not so different than what he did with Buster Moon. And I guess that's another thing that just makes it so weird and like kind of bizarre with the casting over here, that technically, yeah, it is Buster Moon playing as Elvis, but it's really just Buster Moon being Buster Moon, and he just so happens to be Elvis right over here. But yeah, like, yeah, that is a surprising factor. And I mean, like, this is not to say that the casting is bad or anything like that. Like, I mean, Matthew McConaughey has proven himself to be a wonderful actor, and even the acting bits that he showed in this trailer, it's actually not bad. So I'm sure that he could go and pull off a pretty good Elvis. And I mean, like, Elvis as a character, not as like an impression of Elvis Presley, because obviously he ain't doing it over here. But another thing I will say that, and this is actually something that I do like from this teaser trailer, and one thing that they left a good first impression is, of course, in regards to the animation, in which they decided to go with something that's a bit more, like, the best way I could describe it is like a bit of a pulp comic, where they are going in those old style action-packed comic books, going with that fashion, especially when it comes to the use of colors, when it comes to like the black outlining, or like how they prominently use black as the shadows. Even like you look at Elvis, and like most of him is just black, like with the hair, with the shadow, and like even with some of his clothing, it's like full on black. But it's also with how the colors are just absolutely sharp, you know, there's no like smooth transition from like one color to another. Maybe there is a bit like on the girl's hair, but other than that, like all the colors there, like they are poignant, they are sharp, and they really do pop out, and they can make for some like good looking shots. Like one great example is like with Elvis, for some reason he's on the moon and he's looking at planet Earth. Like there is a lot of great shots, great use of animation, and especially with how they're going to go and like make this very action packed. Like already you could see some of the action does deliver pretty well. Like there are some moments in which like you could see some pretty cool shots. Like for example, like once again, let's see like Matthew McConaughey throwing that pen. Like they know how to make this exciting. And I mean, I think this is another good reason for Sony, or a great opportunity for Sony Animation to go and highlight that they are the studio that made Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, considering that it does have that comic book feel. Like this really is like drawings from a comic book page really coming to life. So already the animation is actually pretty impressive so far. So already there's a lot of really good notes to go and mention from what we are seeing in this trailer. However, there is a catch though, and this is one thing that for me, I feel like it's holding me back from really getting excited for this brand new animated series. And that is in regards to the concept that they are presenting, that we got this action-packed adult animated series starring Elvis. Okay, but what else is there? Because I will say that if I do have to go and make some comparisons, Agent Elvis, or at least from what they are showing us in the teaser trailer, it reminds me a lot of the Venture Brothers and Archer. Not just with the art style and that comic book like feeling, but also in regards to the action-packed tone, where you want to go and watch it because you want to see characters kick ass, or like get themselves into like these massive gunfights, or like using all different sorts of weapons and all that kind of stuff. That's where like I would go and get that massive Archer or Venture Brothers feel. But the thing is that I look at Agent Elvis, and when you think about outside of the Elvis factor, there's not really a whole lot that is offering that we haven't already received from all those other shows. Like, why should I watch Agent Elvis instead of the Venture Brothers or Archer instead? What is the one thing about this that really does stand out? And I mean, yeah, it's easy to say the Elvis aspect, but I don't know if that would count. That just feels like the novelty. It's like, oh, the main character just so happens to be Elvis Presley, when honestly, that's not really, I'm not saying that's not a unique element, but that's not enough to really make itself stand out. Like, it needs to offer something a little bit extra more so that you can really differentiate this from all the other action-packed adult animated series. Because let's be honest, we've got a whole bunch of those already, so you have to go and find like a really good twist, or you really have to set yourself like a really strong tone, or like or in some of the cases, like with Archer or Venture Brothers, like you got to really make the comedy work. Like you got to make it poignant, you got to make it stand out, you got to really make the audiences laugh. But so far from the teaser trailer, there's not really a whole lot that it's offering me that is unique. There is none of that standout qualities that makes this different and that it makes this one worth watching compared to all the other shows. But then again, I know that it is a criticism that is pretty unfair because, again, like, this is just a teaser trailer that came out today and it's only a minute long. Like, this is meant to just give us a good first impression. And did Agent Elvis leave us with a good first impression? I would say, for the most part, yes, because a lot of what they're presenting is actually pretty good. It's interesting that they got the idea of having Matthew McConaughey to be Elvis. It's also interesting to see the art style coming to life. I think like that's already the strongest quality of the series, or what they are showing us so far. But as for the rest, I think it's mostly going to be a wait and see. Yeah, it'll provide us with cool action, but I don't think that's going to be enough to go and sustain an entire animated series, or if it would want to go and keep continuing with this show. So I'm more in the mood that so far I do see a lot of the appeal with this animated show. I can see why people would actually really like this, would be down to go and check this out, but I'm going to be a bit more in a wait and see kind of mood. I'm just going to say that the teaser trailer did not sell me immediately on this animated series. Like, I feel like I would probably have to wait until what the word of mouth would actually say regarding this show. Maybe this could turn out to be tremendously awesome. This could be like the next best animated show that everybody needs to go and watch on Netflix. Or maybe it's just going to be a dud that Netflix is just going to cancel after season 1, like they do with most of their other works. I honestly don't know, but honestly, I'm just going to be more in a wait and see kind of attitude. But keep in mind that we don't have to wait too long for this show, considering that Agent Elvis, once again, will be premiering on Netflix in March. When specifically, again, I have no idea. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to go and ask you all, what do you all think about Agent Elvis? Is this an animated show you would be down to watch? Are there some things that you absolutely adore about it? Are there some things you might be hesitant about? Let me know what you all think. All right, so let's see now. Is it too late for me to say ba-ba-ba-boom? My name is Presley, Elvis Presley. As a casual fan of Elvis, this looks pretty good. The animation looks like pop art, and I think Matthew McConaughey might make a pretty solid Elvis. But the concept, on the other hand, is kind of confusing for what we see here. I'm actually interested that Sony Animation is doing adult animation, like with Sausage Party. I mean, we are getting more of this, like Fix and Black Knight. However, will they stand out? Okay, so just a couple of things that I want to go and clarify. Number one, Sony Animation did not create Sausage Party. They have nothing to do with it. It's actually a third-party studio that actually created the movie and all Sony did was just distribute it. So keep that in mind, that Sausage Party is not part of Sony Pictures Animation. And also another thing that I do want to clarify, I don't know if the Black Knight movie is really happening anymore. I mean, yeah, like we are getting a bit of updates in regards to Genndy Tartakovsky's Fix movie, but it's honestly been far too long since we've heard anything from Black Knight. And I'm just going to be in a position where I'm going to say that I think it's most likely canceled than anything. But regardless, okay, so far looks like it left a good first impression here. Let's see now. So the production design looks good. Character designs have sort of a weird mix of anime and 1970s Hanna-Barbera. The show overall, it seems fine. I might check it out, but it's not among my top priorities. Then again, if I can't access my sister's Netflix because she lives in another state and the password share ban, yeah, I hope we don't lose it. I guess I'm in no urgency to see this. Yeah, oh boy. That's also going to be another good question, considering that this is going to be coming out in March, and I do believe that's also around the same time as the password sharing ban that Netflix wants to do. Will Agent Elvis be available on time that you can go and watch it while you still have password sharing? That I don't know. That's going to be a big hurdle right there. Let's see now. Austin Butler, eat your heart out. While it's a little surreal seeing the creators of films like Hotel Transylvania and Open Season create a show like this looks pretty cool. The animation has a very Archer feel to it. The origins of it all just sounds completely hilarious. The comedy is pretty decent, and Matthew McConaughey as Elvis is something I didn't know I wanted. I'll likely give it a shot, just so as long as they keep Tom Hanks's weird accent away from it. Oh my god. Well, why not, man? Why don't we have like just that one little moment where we have that weird accent Tom Hanks coming in to play as the villain, kind of like what he did in Baz Luhrmann's Elvis. Just appear like considering like the tone of all this, like maybe Tom Hanks could go like all out pirate. It's like, I see you have potential, Elvis, especially with the fact that you are white. There's been word going around that you are a white man, I see. Even right now, people are going, he's white, he's white, he's white, he is white. Okay, let's see what other comments do we have. The trailer of Agent Elvis is pretty intriguing, and I have no idea that Matthew McConaughey is now voicing Elvis Presley, which also caught my attention. The animation looks fantastic, as it does have an Archer-like aesthetic, and the action looks pretty promising too. I really hope it's good and something more stand out compared to Archer and Venture Brothers, and if they succeed, then we might have another hit from Sony Animation, as they got into adult animation territory right there. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm down to see what Sony can do with adult animation. I mean, it's extremely rare that we get to hear a mainstream animation studio going into the realm of adult animation. And if things really do work out with something like Agent Elvis, then who knows what kind of possibilities Sony Animation might do with any of their other future projects, whether it be shows or movies. So that would be one great benefit if Agent Elvis really does work out. Let's see what else we got here. I'm looking forward to Agent Elvis since the series was announced for a long time. The animation is good with comic book stylish and some 80s vibe. Hoping to see this goes well for Sony Pictures Animation and not another America the Motion Picture. I'm also waiting for Genndy Tartakovsky's Fix, and the best thing he said in the recent interview is that no pop culture jokes and no Kardashian jokes. Okay, but hopefully they will be funny jokes, because last time with all 4 of those Hotel Transylvania films, we barely got any of those. All right, I think I'm going to read one more comment before we go and jump into the next story. Let's see. Okay, we'll go with this one. Not gonna lie, Agent Elvis looks like it could be a fun show. The animation looks spectacular, as like Spider-Verse. The action is fun and fantastic, and Matthew McConaughey did a good performance as Elvis, though it's pretty funny that it's basically Buster Moon. There's not much I could say since it's only a teaser, but who knows? Maybe we'll hear more from it soon. And as for the people who said that the show was canceled, this show canceled Inside Job, shush. Oh yeah, that was the last time we did hear about Agent Elvis, is that people got mad because people thought this was the show. This is like, this Elvis canceled this time, damn it. Yes, that stupid thing. But anyways, it's interesting to see that a lot of people seem to be pretty positive about it. And if you do want to go and check out Agent Elvis, then keep in mind it will be coming out on Netflix this March. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, we will go into a quick little break. And when we do come back, we are going to go and talk about what was supposed to be the first story of this episode. Now, we did go and talk about this king, or specifically with this king of rock and roll. But now let us go and check out the return of another king. And we are back. Now, moving forward to our next story. Yes, like I said, this was originally the headliner piece of this episode. Originally, I wanted to go and begin with this one, considering that it is part of the major trend that we are seeing with many beloved animated franchises making a comeback, in which we have seen a whole bunch of reboots coming in from left and right, and not to mention so many more that will be coming soon. But when it comes to this revival, or this reboot, or however you want to call it, this one may not necessarily be new news, considering that it's been a long time since it tried to actually make a comeback. But now it seems like it is one step closer to actually becoming a reality. Despite all of its endeavors in the past, it finally has its time to shine, to come back and actually discuss about what the fridge has been going on in the 2020 decade. And what I'm talking about is the grand return of King of the Hill. Yes, folks, it is official. Hulu has revealed that they are going to go and revive King of the Hill. Now, like I said before, it's been a little while that King of the Hill tried to go and make a reboot ever since the original run of... excuse me, I was about to burp, but it didn't come out correctly. But as I was saying, yes, it did take a little while for King of the Hill to go and make a comeback, especially considering the fact that it was back in 2009 that the original run officially made its end. And Mike Judge, one of the creators, tried so hard to bring it back and was close to doing so back in 2017. But then Fox, well, let's just say they were going through a lot of different things, and especially when it comes to their discussion with Disney. But now that everything has been settled with that, Hulu stepped in and they decided that they are going to work with 20th Television Animation to go and actually get things started on a revival with King of the Hill. And not only that, but also they are ready to go and bring back many of the original people from the show. In which they are going to be bringing back Mike Judge and Greg Daniels, the creators of King of the Hill, as well as bringing in Saladin Patterson to be an executive producer and a showrunner. And not only that, though, but they are also going to be bringing in many of the original cast. They are also going to be coming back, too, including Kathy Najimy, Stephen Root, Pamela Alden, Johnny Hardwick, Lauren Tom, and of course, Mike Judge himself. And on top of that, we do have a couple of comments that I would like to go and read. The first one coming from Saladin Patterson, which upon reading it, I realized that it really did sounded like Boomhauer, or the way that he would go and describe it. So, you know what? Allow me to go and do my little piece of Boomhauer to go and read you this.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you who, man, I'll tell you what, man, that dang old Greg talking about old G and then that Mike Judge are inspirations, man. The original show, dang old classic. Got my kids, man, walking around talking about, that's my purse, I don't know you. Feeling blessed, man. I tell you who got, feels so good is a great song. I don't care what no dang body says.
Maybe not the best impression, but that's definitely what it sounds like with the way that he worded it. It's like, that's full on Boomhauer right there. But anyways, we also do have another comment here. This time coming from the president of ABC Entertainment, Hulu, and Disney branded television streaming originals, Craig Irwich, in which Craig described, "We are all so excited to welcome back Hank, Peggy, and Bobby to see what they have to say about the world we live in and continue the conversations we began years ago. This show has all the perfect ingredients to meet this moment in animation at Hulu, and we're so thankful to have those conversations alongside this talented group." And with all that said, so far it is worth noting that we don't necessarily have a confirmed release date of when this is going to be coming out, but we do know that for now, King of the Hill will be having a revival on Hulu. And it's very fascinating to see. Just want to double check. Oh, great. Oh, we got a bit of buffering. Oh, no, wait. No. We're back. Okay. It's fine, folks. It's fine. I swear. Is it fine? No, wait. Is it fine, actually? I don't know. Oh, boy. Yeah, no, it's back to 0 again. Oh, no, wait. Okay, no, it's back. Yes, no, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. I have no idea. Hold on a sec. Maybe here, let me go and, yeah, is it going fine? I just wanted to stop. Just want to double check. Okay, no, it's buffering. So let me just go and here, let me do a soft reset here. So let's just stop. And then okay, then we're gonna go put it back on. So hopefully that will work. Let's see now. If it can connect at least, because so far it looks like it's the connection is being a little bit slow. Here, let me just go and write things down. Don't worry. For those of you not watching the stream version, I got it all under control. Here, hold on. Let me fix this. Let's see. Oh, no. Oh, it's going to play that game again. Okay, no. Okay, so, okay, now it's streaming again. Hopefully. Okay. No, it should be fine. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, we are good. We're back. I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be fine. Yes. Okay. I'm seeing the comments right now. They're saying that it's going fine. It's going good. Woo! Okay. There we go. Now that we got that done, let's get back on track on this. Okay. So, as I was saying with King of the Hill, honestly, this was something that I feel like. This was inevitable. I think like it was bound to happen, especially with, like I said before, they were trying to go and revive King of the Hill for years now. In fact, it was back in 2017 that they tried to do a revival. In fact, let me just go and read you from my source here on Variety. It actually mentions that little moment. Where was that? I know they said it here somewhere. Okay, so and just right over here with like a brief history, in which it states, King of the Hill took place in the fictional town of Arlen, Texas. It originally ran for 13 seasons and over 250 episodes on Fox from 1997 to 2009. There had been discussions about reviving the show at Fox going all the way back to 2017, but that was prior to the 21st Century Fox Disney merger, in which Disney acquired 20th Television and many other assets, but not the broadcast network. So yeah, they tried to go and revive King of the Hill, but one of the biggest obstacles, or possibly the biggest obstacle from that to actually happen, was actually the Disney merger, since Fox had their priorities elsewhere and they didn't really have time to go and think about reviving King of the Hill. But I will say, though, it's interesting to see how Hulu really is going on this binge of starting to go and revive many fan favorite shows, especially animated shows, considering that Animaniacs went very well for them. I mean, yeah, sure, like the Animaniacs reboot is not necessarily as successful as the original Animaniacs, and even pretty soon, or I think they have released their final season right now. But then again, like, even though you can debate how successful it is, maybe it's like very successful or just moderately successful, but regardless, it was still a hit. And it pretty much encouraged Hulu to go and actually invest on making revivals, which is why last year there was the big announcement that they're also bringing back Futurama, despite the fact that, well, during that time, there was the massive controversy in regards to John DiMaggio, if he would come back as Bender or not. And you know that whole Bendergate controversy that happened. So that was a thing that did occur. But also, you know, like I was thinking about like if there would be other reboots. Like at one point, I was thinking in my mind, like, oh, maybe they would also do Tiny Toons Looniversity, considering that, well, Hulu hosted Animaniacs, but no, that's an HBO Max show. But regardless, we are in a current climate where revivals are starting to become the norm, and Hulu is starting to really invest in that. And considering that they are reviving a beloved Fox show like Futurama, why not also go and revive King of the Hill as well? Especially when nowadays the popularity of King of the Hill is still highly prominent. It's still highly beloved to this day, where even though it's been over a decade, or it's almost been a decade and a half since the ending of its original run, you look back at King of the Hill and it's still a very popular show. It's still highly beloved. It still has a massive fan base, and it's still being used as prominent memes to this day. Even like all the different quotes from Bobby, it's still being used. It's still being used as templates, as memes. It's still being quoted. Like, it is still a relevant and beloved and pretty popular show. So yeah, like it's got all the right ingredients in order to go and have a comeback. Like, as I said before, this was something that was pretty inevitable that this would go and happen. But I will say, though, that if there is one reason why this show is coming back, I think it's mainly because of Mike Judge and how his, in a way, his comeback to animation is becoming prevalently strong enough so that his other shows can make a return as well. And that is especially the case when you do look back at last year, when he made his return of Beavis and Butthead, where it started off strong with Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe on Paramount Plus, and then there is the comeback of the show as well, in which it did pretty well for Paramount Plus. So now we are also seeing his other shows, in which, based on the popularity of Beavis and Butthead and how the comeback of that show did pretty well for Paramount Plus, might as well go and take advantage of some of his other shows. And since Disney and Hulu, they also own the Fox properties, why not go and have a piece of that success by bringing back King of the Hill? And especially right now that we do see that many of the original cast, I won't say all of the original cast, but many of the original casts are going to be coming back with many, bringing back like the original charm of it. They're bringing back the original people to go and work on this show. Like, so far, it's got the right ingredients in order to grab fans' attention and in order to return to its former glory, that now we're going to see much more of King of the Hill and seeing the Hills living their average lives, and also to go and make a commentary on our current societal climax, to look into our society and how things are going with social media, or maybe even not be afraid to go into politics as well, considering that that King of the Hill is set in a suburban Texas. Like, it would be a nice opportunity for Mike Judge to go and have his political commentaries with how we are such in a politically divided age, or how culture wars, or how what things that people label as woke is starting to go and affect our society, and how people would go and think. So basically have a commentary on like both the Republican side and the Democratic side. There's like a major opportunity that you can go and bring back King of the Hill in a way that feels modern, but also familiar as well. That now we are seeing classic characters returning to go and discuss about how things are going in terms of like how we live nowadays, or what's it like to live in suburban America. So overall, I feel like with the return of King of the Hill, yeah, like as I said before, I've repeated it already, but this is a comeback that I feel like it is inevitable, like considering that revivals are starting to become the norm, and with Mike Judge's popularity in animation is rocketing back up once again thanks to the help of Beavis and Butthead. I feel like it is a moment to say, why not also bring back King of the Hill, considering that, you know, there was like the idea was already in place, like there's already a consideration to bring back King of the Hill, so why not we go and do that once again? And maybe it could really go and work out for Hulu and for Disney Plus internationally. So honestly, I feel like it's a thing to say, why not? You know, like if we are going to be in the mood of just reviving and rebooting many old properties, why not also include King of the Hill, considering once upon a time it was one of the biggest animated shows that Fox had to offer. Like back in the day, like it was about as popular as Family Guy and The Simpsons. So, you know, I feel like it's a situation where we are in a time where revivals are happening, and that, yeah, even though it sucks that studios are pretty hesitant to go and move forward with original ideas, you know, why not bring back King of the Hill? It's a massively popular and beloved series. You know, like to this day, people are still quoting it. People are using it as memes. So why not add fuel to that and, you know, bring some new material with King of the Hill? So with that said and done, now that I've said my piece, it is now time that you could say your piece as well. And I would like to know for the chat wall, how do you all feel about a revival of King of the Hill? Are you excited about it? Are you a little hesitant about it? And especially if you are a fan of the original King of the Hill show, let me know what you all think. Okay, let's see now. I really enjoyed Mike Judge's work. I even consider Mike Judge as a godfather, not the godfather of adult animation, but the godfather of adult animated series. And after hearing this, I think it really is inevitable. I really love King of the Hill. I always enjoy the slice of life of the Hill family and how many times they have to deal with life. And I would love to see Hank Hill again and his quote, "My name is Hank Hill, and I sell propane and propane accessories." Oh my god, yeah. You know what would be funny? If there's one thing that I would love to see King of the Hill comment on, is regarding the gas stove controversy. Like, you know, okay, like, you know that really stupid moment that recently happened where people were having like a culture war in regards to gas stoves and electric stoves and stuff like that, where you see a lot of people on the right trying, you know, like they were trying to trigger the left by using gas stoves. It's like, oh, look, I'm ruining the environment by turning on my gas stove to own the lives. Look at all the trigger snowflakes I'm doing by turning on all my gas stoves. And you know, I'm just looking at this and going like, what, like, why is this even a thing? Why is this even like, has culture war has sunken so low to the point that now people are like getting emotionally invested over stoves? Like this, like that's just one of the many examples that really does justify on how culture wars are just objectively stupid, and that the only people who win in culture wars are those who don't invest in them. People who, like, those who don't engage in culture wars, those who don't complain about woke culture or whatever, those are the true winners of culture wars. Oh, let's see now. But, and yeah, like, as I said before, like, I would love to see King of the Hill go and actually make a comment on that. Just, you know, just to see Hank Hill saying, like, finally, it is my time to shine. It's time for gas stoves to rise up and to go and use propane as our power source. Oh boy, if you gotta have a culture war episode, then you gotta talk about the gas stoves. All right, let's see what we got here. My only real experience with King of the Hill is Hank getting into a love triangle with Peter Griffin and Tommy Wiseau in my Tamagotchi life game. What? Oh, well, it's Tamagotchi life, so. But this does sound interesting. There's a lot of potential with the idea of Hank Hill and company getting thrust into the modern day, so I'm intrigued with what they'll do with it. Maybe Hank will finally look at the known what a JPEG is. I mean, he just wanted a picture of that god dang hot dog. Oh yeah, that would also be interesting to see if they're gonna acknowledge the memes of King of the Hill. Like, I know there's a lot of popular ones, especially with Bobby, but I remember the one that like I really do like that's not often used is when Hank Hill gets shocked when like he stumbles upon the wrong room. Like he enters into some room and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought this was the bathroom. Oh dear Lord." There's a lot of great memes with that one. Oh, those are great. Let's see what else we have here. I've already read that one. Sorry. I'm not much of a fan of King of the Hill, as I've only seen a couple of episodes, including an episode where Hank's wife accidentally brought the Mexican girl to the US, but I am familiar with this show. Seeing that this series has a comeback with Mike Judge is returning as the showrunner, so it's nice to see this series coming back. I don't know if I'll watch it, but I'll wait and see if it lives up to the original. I mean, who knows? Best case scenario, it will introduce a brand new audience to King of the Hill. Like, maybe like we'll have a new generation of King of the Hill fans, and people will have context to understand where those memes are coming from. Let's see what else we got here. I know this is something I should be excited for, but personally for me, I just can't help but feel iffy about a King of the Hill reboot. Don't get me wrong, King of the Hill is a fantastic show, but I can't see the purpose of a reboot. Maybe we already have plenty of episodes to enjoy and respect. However, maybe this could still work out considering the original cast and crew are coming back. I'll just have to wait and see. I mean, yeah, I get it. I do understand how you feel. I mean, you can go and say that about every other revival that's coming soon. Like even the revival to Futurama. I mean, do we really need a comeback of Futurama, especially when they've already had more than one ending already established? So, I mean, I do understand how you feel, but it's just unfortunately like I said, it's the current climate of animated shows that we are in right now, in which revivals and reboots and stuff like that have become the norm. Let's see, what other comments do we have? What others that people would have to say? Okay. As someone who hasn't watched King of the Hill, but seen clips here and there, it's kind of nice to most likely watch King of the Hill for the first time. As someone who loves Beavis and Butthead, it would be nice to try and see some of more of Mike Judge's work. I haven't tried yet, so we'll see how it goes. Exactly. I mean, like, hey, if you already enjoy some of Judge's other shows like Beavis and Butthead, then you'll probably have a good time with King of the Hill. And I would actually say that if you want an indicator of how things would be with King of the Hill, then go and take a look at the Beavis and Butthead reboot, see how that is going, how they're building that show up, and you'll probably have a good idea that King of the Hill, I would say, is mostly going to be the same thing. All right, I think I'm going to go and read one more comment before we take a break and jump into the next story. Let's see, what other comment? Okay, yeah. Well, it's about time that we saw the return of King of the King of propane and propane accessories. I feel that one of the big reasons King of the Hill has been so beloved to this day is because it ended way before it would suffer seasonal decay, which has affected other shows like The Simpsons and Family Guy. Now that the show has taken along great, it has gained a lot of material that they have used for their episodes, which honestly is very surprising to hear. I mean, like, yeah, it is pretty true that, like, you haven't really heard about King of the Hill having a moment where things really went, well, no pun intended, downhill for the show. And I mean, it's kind of amazing considering that King of the Hill has been going on for like a long time. Keep in mind, it went on for like 13 seasons and over 250 episodes. And the fact that it would stay consistently well throughout all that, like, that is quite a massive achievement. All right, but anyways, with that said, I think we're going to go and have a bit of a break. And then when we do return, we're going to go and dive into a major piece of controversy. Well, maybe it's something that it shouldn't really be a controversy, but this is something that Twitter has been freaking out about, and I feel like it would make a very fascinating discussion. So we'll be right back, and we will go and discuss more about that. All right, now, moving forward to our next story, we're going to go and take a little break from animation, and we're going to dive into a bonus miscellaneous. Considering that this is a story that really exploded onto social media, specifically onto Twitter. Now, at first glance, when you see what this is all about, you wouldn't think this would cause a lot of trouble. You wouldn't think that this is a really bad thing, or that like this isn't really something that people would get upset about. But unfortunately, considering the current climate that we are in with social media, of course, people will go and find anything to go and get mad about. And this is especially the case with this story that we have over here, in which it does bring up some interesting moral questions. And what I'm going to be talking about is in regards to the MrBeast drama. Now, chances are you have heard of MrBeast, who is currently the most popular YouTuber right now. And when he would go and make his videos, he would do like these outlandishly crazy things where he would take the wealth that he has collected over the years and he would just go and just spread it to everyone and everywhere. Like, think about insane ideas that he would go and to use that wealth, rather it be to make crazy content or to give something to his viewers. Like, you probably heard of all the all the little things that he would do, like, oh, maybe if you're a subscriber, you have a chance to win an island, or you have a chance to win thousands of dollars that I'll just throw out like if it's nothing. But okay, so that's basically my best ability to go and describe MrBeast. But recently, MrBeast has actually done something very interesting, in which he put out a video in which, yeah, there he is. That's your boy, MrBeast. But it's specifically this one right over here, where it's an 8-minute long video where MrBeast would go and he would go and find 1,000 people who have varying blindness problems, and he would go and pay for their surgery so that they can have their sight back. So basically, well, I'm not going to go and completely say that he cured blindness, but it is basically giving them cataract surgery so that they could go and see again. And then afterwards, he would go and give them like thousands of dollars or like a college tuition or stuff like that. He would go and, help those people out, especially when those people in particular, they're actually part of the less fortunate. Those are people whom they cannot afford to have that kind of surgery. So MrBeast would come in and give those people an opportunity to have their sight and to actually pay for the surgery that they would need in order to see again. Okay, so far it sounds like it's very nice, a lot of it feels like it's something that's just like a good, like a feel-good video to go and watch, to see people, having a second chance on life, getting an opportunity to have something that normally they could not afford, and something that would definitely benefit them in the future. So what is wrong with that? Well, apparently Twitter got massively upset over this, not because of anything that is actually discovered, but because of the fact that MrBeast did this. And a lot of people would go and be greatly upset about it. And people would go and put off some comments in which they would, well, I wouldn't necessarily say that they're calling out on MrBeast, but they are expressing how upset they are of what MrBeast is doing, and that they would say that he is in the wrong of making that video. Reading from my source here on USA Today, where the fridge was I? It somehow misplaced me for some reason, but it states The video has sparked a conversation about the ethics behind good deeds. Some accuse the creator of exploiting participants in the video by funding their surgeries for personal gain and content rather than genuine altruism. He does exploit people for personal financial gain, one user tweeted Tuesday. The end result is good because people are getting what they need, but he is not a good person because of it. Another person would go and comment, while it was an amazing piece of altruism on your behalf, why make a video about it? Why not just do good with no reward other than self-satisfaction, knowing you're making the world a better place? Maybe some people see it as attention seeking. And this would go, and also MrBeast himself actually did make a response in which he put out a tweet stating, Twitter, rich people should help others with their money. Me, okay, I'll use my money to help people. I promise to give away all my money before I die, every single person. Twitter, MrBeast bad. So that's what the discussion has pretty much evolved into, where a lot of people have accused MrBeast of performative altruism, and that's why it has sparked a lot of controversy and a lot of conversations in regards to if what MrBeast did is actually a good thing or if he would be in the wrong. And honestly, looking into this, I know that technically this normally wouldn't be something I would go and discuss about, and I'm going to be very honest with you all. I have never watched a single video made by MrBeast. It was just never something that's just part of my video watching radar. Nothing against MrBeast, by the way. You know, like, I'm not questioning him. I have nothing against MrBeast. It's just like, it just so happens to be one of those popular people that I just haven't honestly watched because I'm just too busy watching other stuff, or I'm just too busy with my life or stuff like that. I just never have. So, but I will say though, even though I've never seen anything from MrBeast, I have definitely heard about him. I've heard about what he would do in his videos. I know about the kind of content that he would go and make. So while I haven't seen his content, I have heard about what he has done. And I will say, like, right off the bat, we might as well go and have this out of the way. Like, there's no denying that what MrBeast has done is a really good thing. Like, that is a very nice gesture. And I guess you, like I said before, you could consider the video as like a feel good content where MrBeast is going out of his way to help 1,000 people to go and have a surgery that normally they couldn't afford, and give them a second chance of having sight, to get rid of their cataracts so that they can go and see and that they can move forward with their lives now fully improved and now with better sight. Like, that is actually very nice, you know, it's great to see like how unfortunate people, like, now they have their fortune suddenly turned with the help of MrBeast, that he's using his massive platform, he's using his major popularity to go and actually help people out. Like, that alone, I think it is safe to say that it is great. Now, when it comes to the discussion about the other side, about what he's doing is not good, one good argument I will say is regarding the factor of performance altruism, or regarding the factor specifically that he made a video in the first place. And in that regard, I could see the argument where that might be taken in a bad way, because yeah, it is true that technically, why would you go and actually make a video about it? And that's where people would go and actually question the morality aspect, because it is true that technically the best way that you could do so is actually do a good deed without actually making a reward. But then if you would go and actually record that moment and you would go and put it up on YouTube where you would go and monetize on it, that's when people would go and question the intentions or the morality. That's when people would go and ask, is MrBeast actually doing it because he is a good-hearted person who wants to help others? Or is he just doing it for his own personal gain? Is he doing it because he's just doing it for the views? He knows that doing something like this would actually get a lot of attention, would get a lot of views, would make a lot of money. Yeah, and honestly, it's at the point where people would go and question it, because technically it is true where you do see nowadays a lot of performative altruism, especially on social media, where people would go and post their good deeds, like if they would go and help the poor out, or if they would go and give, like they would make like a donation, they would go and do all those things. And some people would go out of their way to do so for the purpose of like gathering likes, in order to gather attention, to make themselves look good. Like it's more for PR purposes than for their true intentions that they would do that. And it would make people, and like I said, it would make people question if this is something that they would normally do off camera instead of doing this. Like that's where people would go and ask, would MrBeast do this without, would MrBeast do this if it weren't for the purpose of making a video? Like, would MrBeast actually go out of his way and help people out in that fashion? Like, would he legit do this if it means that he wouldn't make a video, if he wouldn't make a video out of it, if he would not make a single cent out of this? And honestly, by that regard, that's just coming from people who are not necessarily familiar of who MrBeast is. Admittedly, like, I'm actually one of those people. I don't know MrBeast enough to know if he would actually be someone who is well-intentioned, or if he is doing this out of his own heart. I have heard from others, though, that apparently that seems to be the case, where MrBeast is a good person and he does have a bit of a history of doing good deeds outside of making videos, outside of monetization and stuff like that. So there is that argument right there. But with that said and done, though, the big question still remains. Is what MrBeast doing a good thing? Like what he has performed with helping out 1,000 people with their cataract surgery, is that actually a good deed, or is MrBeast actually a bad person for doing so? And in my opinion, I gotta say, what he did, it's good. I think this is a great thing that MrBeast has done, because let's go and have a moment to think about this. Like, what would be the worst case scenario? What's the worst thing about this entire situation? Like, what would be the worst case scenario if, like, what the doubters say is true? The worst case is that MrBeast is a selfish person. And honestly, that's pretty much it. Which, yeah, like, it's not, that's not a great thing. But then again, that still doesn't change the fact that he did do a good deed. That MrBeast did go out of his way to help out 1,000 people who couldn't afford to have cataract surgery, give those people that for free, and that now those people can benefit with getting a second chance of having sight right now. So he still, regardless of his intentions or not, he did go and actually do the good deed. Like, there's no denying that the action that he has done is actually good, regardless of what the intentions are. Like, yeah, maybe there could have been a better way that MrBeast could have approached the matter. Maybe maybe he shouldn't have monetized that video or whatever. But still, though, like, it is a nice gesture that he did. Like 1,000 people now actually do have their sight. Like, now they have the ability to see, plus some little bonuses that MrBeast would go and give out. Like, and on top of that, like, not only is MrBeast doing so, like, to help those people out, but he's also putting out a message in regards to the American healthcare system. Because, like I said before, the reason why he selected those people in particular is because those people cannot afford to have that kind of surgery. Like, it's really, unfortunately, the kind of people that Mr. Beast could go and easily afford. While as the less fortunate or the lower class, they can't have that. Like whatever problems that they have, they unfortunately would have to deal with it because of how the healthcare system in the US is so screwed up. And honestly, I find it absolutely ridiculous that people would be upset at Mr. Beast. Because like with that message that he would bring out, really, if you want to be upset at someone because of this entire controversy, blame the politicians who are preventing Americans from having free universal health care. Like that should be something that must be a standard. Like that is actually something that, you know, it shouldn't be monetized. It shouldn't have, like, they shouldn't put in a paywall so that people's lives can be better, so that their health can go and improve. So again, if you want to be upset about this, blame the people or get mad at those politicians who are preventing America from having free universal healthcare. There should not be an argument against that. I mean, it's healthcare that is free. Why would you not want that? And don't give me any of that bull crap about, oh, well, it's too expensive, you know, we can't afford to have that. That means our taxes are going to be rising up. Bull crap. You know that Americans have like trillions of dollars on the side that they love to go and spend. You might as well go and take some of the police money or the military money, and you can invest that onto a free universal healthcare system. America does not need to go and spend that much on military when even just a small fraction of that can be used in order to give all Americans free universal healthcare. So again, if you want to be upset about this, don't blame Mr. Beast. Blame the politicians who are preventing Americans from having free healthcare. So that's one major thing that Mr. Beast wants to go and actually highlight with that particular video. And honestly, it's a situation where I feel like no matter what, the good will undeniably outweigh the bad. Because even if his intentions are to be selfish or whatever, it doesn't change the fact that he did do the good deed, that the action was done, and that now 1,000 people's lives have significantly improved thanks to the generosity of Mr. Beast. And I will say right now, I know that a lot of my comments actually are very similar to the streamer Moist Critical. And I mean, like, I am aware of that, and that's a lot of it is actually because I really do agree with what Moist Critical or Penguin Zero would have to go and say. I think like he brought up a lot of amazing points, and I highly recommend you go and watch his video in which he discussed about that matter, about this situation. But I will say though, one interesting thing also to point out at this point is in regards to the people who are upset about. And I think that's another thing that I feel like is worth highlighting. It's not necessarily about Mr. Beast or the people that he has healed, but it's in regards to who is upset. Who are the people who are angry at Mr. Beast in the first place on Twitter? And interestingly enough, I think it's safe to say that you could pretty much divide those people into two different categories. Number one are people who are way too obsessed with Twitter. People who spend the grand majority of their lives on social media, like just commenting about every small thing and are just desperate for attention. And people who just really go out of their way to just go and make mountains out of molehills. People who literally try to find anything and they try to go and be upset about it, or they want to try to turn that into a major controversy. You know, those kinds of people who are like in a desperate need to go and touch grass. So there are those people, number one, that really, that are upset about the Mr. Beast controversy because, well, they just have no lives, and that they don't really have much of a life outside of the internet, or especially outside of social media. So that's reason number one. But also reason number two, there's also the second class of people that are upset at Mr. Beast, and those are miserable people. You know exactly the kind of people who I'm talking about. Those who are completely void of any form of happiness whatsoever. People who are just absolutely depressed. People who have no joy in their lives whatsoever. They hate themselves. They hate the people around them. They hate their lives. They hate everything that is going on. These are just people who are filled with misery and hatred. And all they do is just find the worst in everything. Just absolute pessimism everywhere. Like, they feel like happiness is nothing more but a myth. And those are the kinds of people who would go out of their way to go and accuse anyone of doing good as virtue signaling. Like, when you see someone doing a good deed, when you see someone trying to be nice, or when you see someone be a part of a social movement that doesn't necessarily concern them, like when I would go and support like LGBTQ plus rights or black rights or trans rights or whatever, those are the people who would say that, like, I'm virtue signaling or whatever. Or if you want a great example of those types of people, then look no further than the conservatives who make their entire personality based on hating the left. Like, they have nothing else to do in their lives other than just to go and make everyone that they disagree with to be angry, to be upset. Because when it comes to those specific types of Republicans, those people are undeniably miserable. They're always upset. They cannot be happy no matter what, no matter who they're with, no matter who they're attached to, no matter who they're surrounded by. No matter what, they are miserable, they hate their lives, and they hate themselves. And in a way, they are projecting their misery onto everything, rather it be things that they label as woke, or rather it be discriminating others. Like, for them, the only source of joy that they can go and find is to make people who are different than them to be more miserable than the individual. So that they could just go and say that, well, my life sucks, but at least it doesn't suck as much as those people. That's what they desperately want. So basically, this is to say that the two people who are just upset about this are those who are way too obsessed with Twitter and those who will benefit from Twitter shutting down due to Elon Musk's incompetence, because then they'll have no choice but to go and get a life, and people who are just flat out miserable, who have like literally no joy in life and who think that happiness is just a myth. So yeah, honestly, that's what I mean by the fact that this is a controversy that shouldn't be a controversy. Like, what MrBeast did is undeniably good. And regardless of what you may think of his intentions, rather it be if it's for like performative altruism or that he's doing it out of the kindness of his own heart, what he did is actually a great thing. And why don't we go and actually highlight the positive more so than the negative? Because honestly, with the way that people are focusing so much on the negative, well, let's just say that's kind of the reason why you don't see me be as talkative on social media as others. Even though, like, it's kind of counterintuitive for the job that I'm doing, considering that I am an internet personality and I should be debatably a bit more present on social media. But regardless, I value my own well-being and I do value my happiness. So that's why, like, I can often be found like on the sidelines, or I'm a little more quiet. So just to let you know on that. Okay, so with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall and I want to ask you all now, how do you feel about this MrBeast controversy? Which side do you feel like you are on when it comes to MrBeast? Do you support the mad? Do you support the guy? Are you against what he has done? Let me know what you all think. Well, let's see now. So the only MrBeast related video that I've watched is his cameo in Dream vs. MrBeast $1 Million Challenge. But this video about curing blind people is a philanthropic act. No wonder why so many mush-brained people would think only bad things about good things are all around them, like Fox News or Newsmax. Add to the fact that the US has the worst healthcare system in the development world, Beast's deed is quite welcome in a crumbling society. Better have a healthy country than a dead one. Exactly. And keep in mind, all this is to go and make a comment about how bad the healthcare system is. And if you want to be mad at someone with this controversy, be mad at those politicians who are preventing Americans from having free universal healthcare, because it's not an opinion, it's an objective fact that people should have free healthcare. Their well-being should not have a paywall. Let's see now. Wait, people are mad at MrBeast doing this? I'm only a casual MrBeast fan. I've never gotten into too much of his videos, but like, why with this controversy? His heart is clearly in the right place, and all he's doing is just helping people, so I don't really see the problem. I don't know, maybe I need to look more into it, but overall, I'm just baffled as to why this is even a problem. It's sadly the internet. It's like, the thing is, social media, and especially Twitter under Elon Musk, has become this like unpleasant and very pessimistic environment where it's just too toxic, and like basically happy, you know, like basically being happy is something that is looked down upon on social media, because like, you need to always be angry, you must always be raging, because that's how the business works on Twitter, which honestly, I ain't for that, man. You know, again, I value my well-being and my happiness. Let's see, what do we got here? I really think what MrBeast did is really generous. It isn't great being blind. In fact, I remember my mom literally had a cataract surgery last year. Even she said it would have been horrible to never read again. It wasn't fun having it, but it wasn't great to be blinded either. And there were times outside of us, she would feel like no one would ever help her in need. All this to say that it proves that great deeds came from others, and they resolved to living a great future of their lives. God bless him. Oh yeah, exactly. Like, honestly, it's kind of funny, like, when you think back of like a lot of the wholesome stuff, like, I can guarantee you, based on this, if Mr. Rogers would be back, I can guarantee you there's going to be a lot of people who would just hate, who would absolutely hate him because of how wholesome he is. In fact, a lot of people would view his wholesomeness as woke. All right, I'm going to read a couple more comments because I don't have a lot of time left. Let's see here. We live in a world where kind and generous people who only want to make the world a better place, like MrBeast, are villainized for the good deeds, while sentient filth like Logan Paul are endlessly defended for being the absolute worst. Or I would even give you something more, like someone like Andrew Tate, whom no one should be defending, and like you pretty much have to be a criminal to defend Andrew Tate. But I do get what you mean. Anyways, and that makes me die a little inside. MrBeast could find a way to end world hunger, and people would pillory him for putting so many anti-hunger charities out of business. The mentality of no good deed goes unpunished is a terrible way to go out in life. Yeah, I think I'll read one more quick comment before we jump into the next story. Honestly, I could see why some people would be kind of mad at MrBeast at first glance, but at the end of the day, there are far worse content creators who have made clickbait videos out of bad taste, like I'm Jay Station, Valsky Bum, Extreme Games, and many more wannabe content creators who try and leech onto more controversial video ideas or for views. Okay, well, just to say right now that, you know, I'm personally not calling out those people. This is just a comment that I read. But anyways, I don't have a lot of time left before the next commercial pops up. So we will be right back onto our next story, and we will go back into animation. But this time around, we will be looking at more animated content from a galaxy far, far away, from studios that come from far, far away. And we are back. Now, on to the next story that we have over here. Yes, we will be going back into animation, but this time around, it's going to be in regards to an anthology series. Now, I believe it was back in, correct me if I'm wrong, in 2021, in which we have gotten this new animated series, in which it brought this popular franchise to brand new worlds. In fact, it was a moment where it could actually have a break from the main saga that everyone knows about. But it looks like this anthology series has officially come back, but not in the same way that it was before. And what I'm talking about, of course, is in regards to Star Wars Visions. Yes, Disney Plus and Lucasfilm have announced that they are going to be releasing a volume 2 of their animated anthology series, Star Wars Visions. However, this time around, it's going to be a little bit more different, because with the first Star Wars Visions, they would go and accumulate a whole bunch of Japanese animation studios to go and produce their own Star Wars short, where they would go and contact studios such as Studio Trigger, Production IG, Studio Sara, and several others, where they would go and create their own Star Wars story that doesn't necessarily have a connection with the Skywalker saga, just showing animated shorts that is happening all around the Star Wars universe. But this time around, though, they ain't gonna be contacting Japanese studios, or at least they have contacted one, but that's pretty much it. The rest, however, are actually coming from international studios, where in each animated short, it will come from a different studio from a different country. And we don't necessarily have info about the story of these animated shorts, but we do know the studio that they are from and who's going to be working on it, or specifically like the director or the writer-director or whatever. You'll know what I mean. So, reading from my source here on Animation Magazine, the volume 2 of Star Wars Vision contains Sith, in which it will be brought to us by writer-director Rodrigo Blas, by the Spanish animation studio El Guigui. I believe that is the Spanish studio. Yes, okay, so Sith will be brought to us by El Guigui. Then things get really interesting with the second one, which is called Screecher's Reach, which will be directed by Paul Young and brought to us by Ireland's very own Cartoon Saloon. Yes, folks, we are indeed getting a Cartoon Saloon Star Wars short. So that's going to be a thing that will happen with Star Wars Visions. Next up, we also have In the Stars, which will be brought to us by writer-director Gabriel Osorio, in which it will be worked on at Punk Rock, the animation studio in Chile. Then after that, we got another very interesting one that caught a lot of people's attention, which is I Am Your Mother, directed by Magdalena Osinska. I believe that's how you say her name. And it will be brought to us by none other than UK's very own Aardman Animation. Yes, the same studio that brought us Wallace and Gromit, Shaun the Sheep, Chicken Run, and many more. They are going to be working on a Star Wars short as well. Next up, we got Journey to the Dark Head, which will be directed by Hyung-gyun Park by the Korean studio Mir. Then afterwards, we have The Spy Dancer, which will be written and directed by Julian Cheng, and it will be done by the French animation studio La Cachette. Then after that, we got the Bandits of Golok, which will be directed by Ishan Shukla, and it will be done by India's animation studio 88 Pictures. Then after that, we got The Pit, which is actually going to be a collaboration between the Japanese animation studio Dar Studio and Lucasfilm themselves, to which it will be done, it will actually be written, directed, and executive produced by Lee Andre Thomas and co-directed by Justin Ridge. And then finally, we have Ao's Song, in which it will be written and directed by Nadia Darius and Daniel Clark, in which it will be done by South Africa's animation studio Triggerfish. And all this is going to be released very soon, actually, on May 4th, in which we all know is Star Wars Day. So that's pretty much the big thing that we are seeing, is that all these different animation studios are going to be working together to create an animated short for Star Wars Visions. Now, one thing I will say with the first Star Wars Visions, I will say that it's actually very interesting to see the reactions to the first volume, mainly because of how a lot of people have many different opinions. And this is not just in regards to the animated shorts themselves, because yeah, it is true that there are some that are just okay, and then there are some that are freaking awesome, but also with how people feel about Star Wars Visions in particular. Especially with the fact that it does not have a connection to the Skywalker saga. Like, it's not necessary to go and watch Star Wars Visions in order to understand with what is wait, oh, okay, sorry. I was just like freaking out for a second. I was just looking at like my system, and I was thinking like, wait, can people hear me? Okay, no, okay. Oh, okay, so it wasn't just me. Okay, it wasn't just me. I was wondering. It was like, okay, like, do people hear me? Do I have sound? Okay, just wondering. People, like, you can hear me, right? Just want to double check on that. Okay, okay, good. Okay, so for a second, it wasn't just me. All right. Anyways, to continue. Yeah, so it's interesting to see the different reactions of the fact that Star Wars Visions is not associated with the Skywalker saga. Because I've seen some people who say that they do not care at all about Star Wars Visions, that they thought that the content that they would make is just meh. Where on the other hand, I've also seen some people who say that Star Wars Visions is some of the best content that Disney put out for Star Wars, because it doesn't have that association with the Skywalker saga, that they really are expanding the Star Wars universe outside of what we are familiar with. So it's very interesting to see all those different reactions come out with Star Wars Visions. But what I find to be very fascinating is the way that they're going in a different pace with the second volume. With the way that instead of just focusing on anime content, now they're going to go with international studios. That now they're going to take a different step with how they're going to approach animation, especially with that they're going to go in a way where it won't be just with anime, you know, like basically taking the idea of what we know about Star Wars Visions and decided to go and really expand it by not just focusing on anime in particular, like to actually go and give other animation studios a chance, especially a lot of the international ones where they would get more mainstream attention, like El Guiri, sorry, Punk Robot, La Cachette, 88 Pictures, Triggerfish, and more. You know, it's actually a very nice opportunity for them to actually have a spotlight, and especially with the fact that they can have an opportunity to work on a big name property like Star Wars. I can imagine that it's a very exciting moment for them. But what I would have to say is the big eye catcher, especially when it comes to animation fans, is in regards to the two most recognizable animation studios here, Cartoon Saloon and Aardman Animation. The fact that Aardman and Cartoon Saloon are going to be working on a Star Wars project, like, I'm sure there was a once upon a time that this was unheard of, or especially that Disney is collaborating with those studios. Now, I know technically there was some history in the past with Cartoon Saloon and Disney, where there was a once upon a time that Cartoon Saloon was actually working on a reboot of Winnie the Pooh, specifically to make their modern stylistic take of Winnie the Pooh, where it's set in today's age with, with today's suburban areas. Now, I know that a modern Winnie the Pooh doesn't sound as appealing, but with the creative artistry at Cartoon Saloon, and like you could actually go on the internet right now and you can actually find some clips of that canceled Winnie the Pooh project. It was absolutely beautiful. Like, it was the fresh new take that debatably Winnie the Pooh needed. It was just so gorgeous to look at. And especially with that, with that Cartoon Saloon style integrated, it was just absolutely beautiful. And it was one of those very unfortunate things that it never ultimately happened, that we never got to see this brand new Winnie the Pooh. It would have been great to see this brand new take, but sadly, Disney did not move forward with it. Honestly, it's one of those that I do wish that it could go and get a second chance. Or hell, you know what? Why don't we bring in MrBeast? Like, I mean, if he's giving a second chance to all those blind people, maybe he could go and give a second chance to that Winnie the Pooh project. Who the fridge knows? But in all seriousness, though, now that we do see that there is going to be a legitimate collaboration with Cartoon Saloon and Disney, you know, that's going to be exciting. Like, no matter, like, honestly, I'm very much excited with whatever Cartoon Saloon would go and bring out. Even though, yeah, I know recently I did state I wasn't like a major fan of My Father's Dragon, but I still adore their other animated films. Like, I love Wolfwalkers, Secret of Kells, Song of the Sea, Breadwinner. All fantastic movies, and I can imagine how like that collaboration between Disney and Cartoon Saloon, it would be amazing to see, honestly. Like that, you know, honestly, maybe it's an exaggeration, but I feel like it's a match made in heaven. Take the magical brand of Disney and the artistry of Cartoon Saloon, put them together, and they can do some beautiful things. And I hope this is just the beginning where, like, maybe in the future we will see more collaborations between Cartoon Saloon and Disney. I don't know, like, I know it's best to keep Cartoon Saloon as independent as possible, but I could see, you know, I could see how like the two of them together can make absolute wonders. But then at the same time, you also got Aardman as well. And this is the one that I feel like I wish I knew more info, or that they would bring out more info of what they are going to do with these animated shorts. Because with Aardman, I mean, you could go in many different directions. Sure, Aardman is very well known for their stop motion, but they have also done a lot of 2D animation, of hand-drawn animation, or even of computer animation as well. They have done that. And with Aardman, honestly, with their project that they are going to be bringing up with I Am Your Mother, honestly, this is the one that, like, even though I'm excited, I don't know what the fridge they are going to do with this one. I don't know if this is going to be like their usual stop motion fare, like this is going to be the Star Wars equivalent of Wallace and Gromit, or they're going to do something completely different. Like, I don't know what they are going to do, but just the idea alone of Aardman making something Star Wars related is a very fascinating idea. So overall, honestly, I gotta say, this is pretty intriguing, and what I'm personally gonna be expecting is gonna be something similar to what we have gotten with the first Star Wars Visions, where, yeah, it's not gonna be related to anything that's currently going on with the Star Wars universe. It's gonna have nothing to do with the Skywalker saga or the Mandalorian or anything like that. But what we are going to see over here, we will have some varying results. I can imagine there will be some projects that are going to be just okay, and there are going to be other projects in which they will be absolutely amazing. And I can imagine that with the animation studios that they got here, rather it be Triggerfish, or rather it be Punk Robot, or Cartoon Saloon, or Aardman, I can imagine that the results of these, they will bring up some very interesting results. And I can imagine this will be the kind where we are going to see a massive diverse of content, you know, like debatably even more so than in the first volume, where it's not just going to be like one anime after another. Like over here, we're going to see things that are going to be completely different with totally unique styles that will definitely differentiate one another. So honestly, I am curiously optimistic about this one. And if you are excited as well to go and see Star Wars Visions, then keep in mind that it will be making its premiere on Disney Plus on May 4th. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, what do you all think about Volume 2 of Star Wars Visions? Are you excited about it? Are you a little more are you a little more iffy because of the first volume? Or also, which of these animated shorts are you the most excited for? Let me know what you think on that. All right, let's see. Cartoon Saloon and Aardman doing Star Wars? Yeah, I'm freaking sold on this. I gotta give credit to Lucasfilm to this. I'm glad they are expanding and collaborating with these amazing international artists to make some awesome, to make something awesome in the Star Wars universe with with this season of Vision. I'm definitely excited for this. I just hope it's really good, just like the last season. All right, really nice. This is very exciting news. Personally, I think that Star Wars Visions is one of the better things that Disney has done with this franchise, and I am looking forward to season 2. And the fact that Cartoon Saloon and Aardman are working on episodes is awesome, and it's a great opportunity to see their animation styles be brought to the table, and it's awesome. So overall, I'm very excited. All right, the hype is real here. What makes me excited for Volume 2 is the different styles we could be getting. There are so many possibilities, like with Cartoon Saloon with their fairy tale aesthetic, or with Aardman's stop motion. It really makes me think of what they could do with it. Not only that, it opens up with for new viewers to get to know these animation studios that some don't know, or some who would kind of know. It was like how Volume 1 opened up with people who don't know anime, so it gives me hope for this volume so much. All right, very nicely worded there. Let's see. I have to go, but here's my comments about Star Wars Visions Volume 2. I gotta say, with animation from Europe doing animation with Star Wars Visions, I really am excited for this news. With Cartoon Saloon and Aardman involved in this, I'm actually pretty curious to know of what they might look like in Cartoon Saloon animation and stop motion from Aardman. I thought I wanted to see more anime style in the Star Wars universe, but hearing about Star Wars Visions having European animation, holy crap. In fact, I would even say that, well, maybe not most of it, but like probably around half of it actually seems to be, oh no, actually, you know what? No, I would say most of it is actually European, because you got a Spanish short with El Guiri, you got Ireland with Cartoon Saloon, you got the UK with Aardman. Well, technically, I mean, like, at the rate of how Brexit is going, they should be. You got La Cachette with you got France with La Cachette, and or would that be, or no, would that be half? Wait a minute, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 3.5. Okay, so maybe not most of it. I'm sorry, that was wrong of me to say. Okay, but you guys do get what I mean. Like, yeah, we are definitely getting some European Star Wars animation. Anyways, out of all the new Star Wars media, Star Wars Visions has been some of the most fun I've had with the franchise, even if one of the shorts was a big dud. To see this series expand this time with several international studios has me excited with all the different styles these studios will bring to the table. As for which studios I am the most excited for, I would pick Aardman, Cartoon Saloon, and Studio Mir. All right, awesome. Let's see. I have yet to check out the Star Wars Vision series, but the ones I'm looking forward to the most are Cartoon Saloon, this Cartoon Saloon one, and the one by Aardman. Speaking of Aardman, this is not the only time Aardman collaborated to do an episode of an anthology series. The other time was in Cartoon Saloon's DC Nation series back in 2012, making shorts called World's Funniest, where there are bizarre-looking kids dressed up as DC heroes and villains and talk about stuff. There's also Nickelodeon with Purple and Brown. Okay, interesting fact right there. What else we got? Let me see what other comments there. Any other? All right, I'll read this one. It's official. Being bought by Disney was the best thing to happen to Star Wars. I had no idea how much I wanted a Star Wars short made by Aardman until I heard it would be getting one. I hope we get to see Morph and Chaz have a lightsaber duel, or Han and Chewie snacking on Wensleydale cheese. Are we at that point of Star Wars now? Are we now at the age where the Disney being bought by Star Wars is now viewed as a good thing? I don't know, because we are seeing some pretty interesting chapters going on the Disney Star Wars saga. All right, I think I'm going to read one more comment before we go into the grand finale. Let's see. I think I've read that one, but I'm just going to go with... did I read this one? No, I think, hold on a sec. Trying to find one. Okay, I'll go with this one then. I've never seen Star Wars Vision, but that can change since I finally seen Arcade. As for the possible season 3, I would like to see Hosoda and Shinkai throw their hats into the ring. All right, that seems nice. So, we got one more story that we're going to get into, and trust me when I say that this will be a grand finale, because I know I've talked a lot about the current status of the DC cinematic universe, but it looks like now things are going to change, and now they have a plan. And now, folks, this is it. It is now time. We are getting into the grand finale. And with this finale, oh boy, I think this is one that is worthy of calling a grand finale, because this is debatably the biggest entertainment news of last week. Considering that, well, when it comes to DC, things are going very messy with how they've been bringing out their movies. Yes, they have been getting some hits like the Batman, but they have also been getting a whole lot of flops, especially when it comes to their current cinematic universe, or as what some people would dub it as the Snyderverse, has been going massively disastrous. Even right now, with their latest movie, Black Adam, it turned out that it's most likely a box office flop, and it just motivates Warner Brothers Discovery to go and move on from all of that. And they have been promising that they wanted to do a more coherent plan, that they have an idea of what they want to do in the future. But now it seems that the time has come that we do have a little bit of an idea of what they want to do with their big 10-year plan. Yes, last week, the heads of DC Studios, James Gunn and Peter Safran, have revealed what is said to be their first chapter of their big 10-year plan of the DC universe, in which they are going to be calling it Gods and Monsters. No, not the DC universe. It's specifically the first chapter. It's actually going to be called Gods and Monsters. Now, from there, Gunn and Safran just put out their big plan of what they want to do specifically with that chapter, and the big plan that they want to do with the DC universe in general. The first thing that they really want to go and emphasize is how there's going to be a massive connection with not just the movies, but also other forms of media. How their TV content, how their animation content, and even some of their video game content is going to have a connection and will be integral to the story of the DC universe. So that's one thing that they want to go and improve on, and it's actually going to be in regarding to the connection of all their shows and all their movies and all that kind of stuff. They want to make the media more connected to tell this one big story of the DC universe. Now, another thing that they went and did is also emphasize that they have created something called the DC Elseworld. And with the Elseworld, that is going to emphasize that the projects that will release under that banner will not have anything to do with the current DC universe. Like, they will clarify that this is going to be a project that is meant to be its own thing. It's not meant to be connected with the DC universe that Gunn and Safran are planning whatsoever. So projects such as the Batman or the upcoming Joker sequel, or they even mentioned Teen Titans Go, is actually going to be a part of that Elseworld. So they've already put that up. They've already mentioned about it. But the big thing to go and highlight is in regarding to the DC universe and its first chapter, Gods and Monsters, to which they have planned out a 2-year window of when those projects are going to be released, in which the chapter will happen between in 2025 and 2027. So technically, this new DC universe will launch in 2025. And at the same time, they have also revealed that in that first chapter, there will be 10 different projects that will be released. And I will be going down to them one by one on my source here through The Hollywood Reporter. As it states, the first thing that will be released in this new universe is actually going to be an animated series called Creature Commandos. And it says, a 7-episode animated series written by Gunn that is already in production. Originally a team of classic monsters assembled to fight Nazis, this is a modern take on the concept. The voice actors have yet to be cast, but the executives are looking to find people who can voice the animated characters and also portray the live-action versions when the anti-heroes show up in movies and series. So that's one major thing that they already got going on. Then after that, they got Waller. In a spin-off of Gunn's own HBO Max hit series Peacemaker, Viola Davis will return as the ruthless and morally ambiguous head of government task force. It is being written by Crystal Henry, of Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, the creator of the Doom Patrol TV series. Then after that, we actually have the true starter of the DC universe. Those two are actually just appetizers to the main course that will be making the DCU's debut, Superman Legacy. As it states here, the movie featuring the Man of Steel that Gunn is writing and may direct, although no commitment on that end has been made, while the two previous titles are meant to be aperitifs, in Safran's words, Superman is the true kickoff to the duo's DCU plan. It is not an origin story, Safran said. It focuses on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. He is the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way. He is kindness in a world that thinks that kindness is old-fashioned. A release date of July 11th, 2025 has been penciled in. And hopefully it will be the modern American way, you know, like the American way in which they would criminalize bigotry, such as racism, homophobia, transphobia, anti-Semitism, and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully we will get, you know, like the Superman that recently beat up a whole bunch of the Ku Klux Klan. So hopefully we'll have that American way Superman. Then after that, we got Lanterns. Greg Berlanti's long-in-the-works Green Lanterns TV series has been scrapped. Okay, well, that's not a good way to start this one off. But anyways, in its place will be a new take on the space cops with power rings. Our vision for this is very much in the veins of True Detectives, Safran described. It's terrestrial based. It is terrestrial based. It will feature prominent Lantern heroes Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, and is one of the most important shows they have in development. This plays a really big role in leading into the main story we are telling across film and TV. Then after that, they got something called The Authority, a movie based on a team of superheroes with rather extreme methods of protecting the planet that first originated in the late 1990s under an influential imprint known as Wildstorm, run by artist and now head of DC Publishing, Jim Lee. One of the things of the DCEU is that it's not just a story of heroes and villains, says Gunn. Not every film and TV show is going to be about good guy versus bad guy, giant thing from the sky comes and good guy wins. There are white hats, black hats, and gray hats. Added Safran, they are kind of like Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. They know that you want them on the wall, or at least they believe that. Then after that is Paradise Lost. The duo described this HBO Max series as the Game of Thrones style drama set on the all-female island that is Wonder Woman's birthplace, Themyscira. I might have said that wrong, but anyways, filled with political intrigue and scheming between power players. It takes place before the events of the Wonder Woman films. Now, does that mean that the Wonder Woman movies that we have, like the first one and 1984, will actually be significant to the DC universe that they got? Or maybe it's going to be the upcoming ones? Who the fridge knows? But anyways, next up we got another very fascinating one, The Brave and the Bold. This is the introduction of the DCU Batman, says Gunn, of Bruce Wayne, and also introduces our favorite Robin, Damian Wayne, who is a little son of a bitch. The movie will take inspiration from the now classic Batman run written by Grant Morrison that introduces Batman to a son he never knew he existed, a murderous tween raised by assassins. It's a very strange father and son story. But not only that, but they have also revealed a movie that will be a part of the, well, not a part of the DCU, but rather be a part of the DC Elseworld, the Batman sequel. Pattinson will continue to portray the Dark Knight in at least one more crime saga movie directed by Matt Reeves. That movie, the executives revealed, will be released on October 3rd, 2025, and it is being titled The Batman Part 2. 2025 is going to be a very big year for DC, crowed Safran. Superman and Batman within the same year. Yes, but technically not the same, not the same ones that will be a part of the same universe, you know? We know that The Brave and the Bold will not have Robert Pattinson's Batman. But anyways, next up we got Booster Gold, an HBO Max series based on a unique, lesser-known hero created in 1986. Safran said of the series, it's about a loser from the future who uses basic future technology to come back to today and pretend to be a superhero. Gunn describes it as imposter syndrome as superhero. And then after that, we got Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Taking its cues from the recent Tom King written miniseries, this movie promises a different take than what most think of when Superman's cousin comes to mind. We will see the difference between Superman, who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents from the time that he was an infant, versus Supergirl, raised on a rock, a chip off of Krypton, and who watched everyone around her die and be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life, and then comes to Earth. She is much more hardcore and not the Supergirl we're used to. So basically, you know, the thing is, the best way to go and describe it is if you take Fujiko Matoi, no, not Fujiko Matoi, that's not her name. Oh crap, what was her name again? I just had it on my mind and then I just forgot about it. Oh, no, it's about, imagine if you take Ryuko Matoi from Kill la Kill and then you go and you dress her up as Supergirl. That's basically what you got with the DCU version of Supergirl. And finally, last but not least, we also have Swamp Thing, in which it simply states that it is a horror film that promises to close out the first part of the first chapter. And from there, they would also go into other specifics, especially in regards to some of the actors. Considering that between 2023 and 2024, well, we still have the rest of the DC movies to go through, such as Shazam! Fury of the Gods next month, and then we got the controversial Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom. And by mentioning those, Gunn and Safran even mentioned that there may be a possibility that the stars of those features may actually get to keep their roles, that they will not be purged amongst this entire reboot of the DC universe, in which they even stated that the 4 leads of those films could potentially return to their roles in the DCU projects down the line. There is nothing that prohibits that from happening. But there is a major catch though, and that is in regards to The Flash. And if they're going to be bringing back people like Zachary Levi and Jason Momoa, then that would mean they would also be keeping Ezra Miller. And in that regards, they did address some of the controversy about it, and it sounds like James Gunn and Peter Safran, from what they are saying, they're going to be siding with Warner Brothers Discovery, and they will be keeping Ezra Miller, in which it is stated right over here by Peter Safran, Ezra is completely committed to their recovery. We are fully supportive of that journey they are on right now. When the time is right, when they are ready to have that discussion, we will all figure out what's the best path forward. But right now, they are completely focused on their recovery. And in our conversation with them in the last couple of months, it feels like they are making enormous progress. So, yeah, it looks like they're going to be more on the side of Ezra Miller on that one. I mean, like, considering that David Zaslav is their boss, they probably didn't have a choice. I'll get more into that later. But also, at the same time, speaking of controversy, they have also brought up a recent little drama in which it relates to Zachary Levi in which he made a very controversial tweet in which he calls Pfizer one of the biggest dangers of the world, or something like that, in which Zachary Levi went and took an anti-vax stance, which honestly, yeah, it is a bit disappointing to see, considering that I really do enjoy Zachary Levi as an actor. I really like a lot of his works, especially like when he's Eugene from the Tangled series or in the Tangled movie. But James Gunn even addressed that moment in which he states, actors, filmmakers that I work with are going to say things that I agree with and things that I don't agree with. I can't be changing my plans all the time because an actor says something that I don't agree with. At the same token, if someone is doing something that is morally reprehensible, that's a different story, and we have to take that into action. Oh, and there is one more thing also, and that is in regards to Henry Cavill, in which he is no longer coming back as Superman. And they did even address that as well, to which James Gunn stated here, "We didn't fire Henry. Henry was never cast. For me, it's about who do I want to cast as Superman, and who do the filmmakers we have want to cast. And for me, for this story, it isn't Henry." He also mentioned, "I like Henry. I think he's a great guy. I think he's getting dicked around by a lot of people, including the former regime at this company. But this Superman is not Henry for a number of reasons." And there are plenty of more comments that they would go into. I highly recommend that you go and read this article if you want to get the full information about what Peter Safran and James Gunn would comment. But that's pretty much the big thing that they have revealed. It's all their entire plan with what they got with the DC universe. And one thing I gotta say is that at the very least, it does sound like they do have a plan. It does sound like they have something coherent going on. They know what they want to do, and they do have a long-term goal, which is honestly something that very much hindered the Snyderverse or the previous DC universe beforehand, because never did it really feel like there was a true plan going forward. They never really had a true idea of what they actually wanted to do with their properties, such as Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and stuff like that. Yeah, there have been some times in which it really worked out in their favor, and that they did put out movies that were massively successful, both financially and critically, movies such as Aquaman or Wonder Woman. But when there are times when they would miss very badly, where even to this day it would put a stain in that universe's reputation, rather it be with the comedically awful results of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, or the disastrous production of Justice League, where the 2017 film is now one of the biggest box office bombs in history, or even the toxicity of the Snyder fanboys, where they are so desperate to try to keep that vision alive, and they would do anything in order to ensure that they would only make things go their way, where even right now, there's still like this massive war between like the Snyderverse fanboys and with James Gunn and Peter Safran and like the current heads of the DC universe. So yeah, the last time it was obviously a disaster, and so far it feels like now things are looking a bit more positive, where it sounds like they do have a plan. Now they know what to do moving forward, and they're going to take like not too much, but just a little bit of the format that made things work with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and integrate that onto the new DC universe, where now they're going to be more tightly knit, and they're going to have like a stronger connection with all the shows, with the movies, with the animated content, and all that kind of stuff, while at the same time clarifying when they're going to put out a DC project that has nothing to do with the DC universe, like putting that big label that it is a part of the Elseworld. And from there, honestly, there's a bunch of projects that actually do sound pretty interesting that they are going to go and bring out. Like for me, some of the standout ones, of course, include Superman Legacy, since that's the one that's going to start off this entire universe and that we're going to get a brand new take on Superman. And then, of course, like as a Batman fan myself, I'm definitely excited for the Batman Part 2 and The Brave and the Bold, because I gotta say, The Brave and the Bold, oddly enough, it sounds like an edgy version of it sounds like an edgy version of the Lego Batman movie, where you take that plot line of like the father-son bond between Batman and Robin, except take the comedy and the lighthearted tone out of the movie, and you replace that with like some weird, crazy, dark grittiness where now Robin is just an absolute killer. Like, he is the complete opposite of Lego Batman Robin. So that's gonna be, that's gonna be very interesting to watch, to see how they're gonna go and bring that out. And I may be in the minority on this, but I gotta say, one project that really does intrigue me has to be Booster Gold. Like, I know not many people know who Booster Gold is, but honestly, one thing that I am intrigued to see is whenever these mainstream studios like Marvel or DC, they would take some of their more obscure properties and they would bring them in the spotlight, like to make them massively popular again. Like we've seen that with Guardians of the Galaxy, with how they are now amongst some of the most popular superheroes in Marvel's lineup. And I can imagine the same thing, that like if things go well, then I can imagine there's going to be a massive fanfare with Booster Gold. Like, this is going to be the kind that people will be introduced to Booster Gold and people are going to like Booster Gold. So I think that's going to be one that people should keep an eye out. And of course, since animated content are also going to be attached to it, I'm also really intrigued with Creature Commandos, in which they're going to take like classic horror monsters and they're going to go and integrate them in the DC universe, where this is going to be like the first appetizer of this new rebooted universe, and we're going to see like these new versions of the monsters. And I do wonder, like, even though it's going to be like a modern take on it, are they still going to be monsters that will fight Nazis? Like, honestly, that would be a great thing to go and keep, actually, because like we still, like, even to this day, we still need to go and take down Nazis, and we do need some superheroes, whether it be in real life or in like fictional worlds like in DC, to go and kill those Nazis. So yeah, that's honestly, I'm gonna be keeping an eye out on that. And I'm not gonna lie, like the female Frankenstein's monster, pretty hot though. I like her. I definitely like her in this entire group. And also, I just want to comment: is this the Weasel? Is this the same Weasel from the Suicide Squad? Is he gonna be making a comeback? Because honestly, if we're gonna be bringing something from the previous DC movies, you might as well be that freaking Weasel. We need his return. He needs to be a prominent character in the new DC universe. All right, but yeah, honestly, like, yeah, those are the ones. And also, I gotta say, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, considering now they're gonna have like a new hardcore take on her, that's gonna be interesting to watch. So honestly, there's gonna be a lot of projects that they have in mind that's gonna be pretty exciting and will have my curiosity as well. But also at the same time, I do want to go and make a quick comment that there are some things I'm not fully on board with. Like, you guys know that in previous times that I would talk about this, I firmly believe that if they're going to go and reset the DC universe, they should reset everything, including recast everyone. But then it looks like over here, it looks like they might end up actually keeping some of the actors after all. Like, it was an obvious clue that they are going to do so, considering that they are going to keep Viola Davis as Waller. But now it looks like they're going to be signaling that they would also go and keep Jason Momoa, Zachary Levi, and especially Ezra Miller, which does have me concerned. And this is where I feel like, honestly, I wouldn't 100% blame James Gunn and Peter Safran on that decision if that happens, because I can imagine that when planning the big 10-year mission for the DC universe, there's got to be some executives at Warner Brothers Discovery who would also go and make those decisions, including David Zaslav. Like, that's the part where I feel like there have been some executive meddling as well, especially with the fact when some of the things that they say, like, honestly feels a bit hypocritical. Like, the comment that James Gunn put out in regards to what happens to Zachary Levi, like, honestly, it's very contradictory because, like, yeah, James Gunn would say, like, oh, well, if that person would do something morally reprehensible, well, that's a different story. Well, in that regard, like, if that is a different story, then why are you keeping Ezra Miller? Don't you think that's someone who is like a person who has done something that's very morally reprehensible, considering that they are a legitimate convict, that they actually do have a criminal record? Seriously, I feel like that's something in which that may be a little, like, there might be a few things that might be a little bit out of the control of both Gunn and Safran. And yeah, I firmly do believe they should get rid of Ezra Miller altogether. But then again, it's probably not their choice. It's the executives at WBD. So that's why I feel like not 100% of all this is selected by Gunn and Safran. Like, the executives have something to say as well. And that's the one thing, again, that I do not agree with this entire thing. But I will say overall, though, for the most part, this is actually very interesting. I feel like they do have a legitimate plan going on, and maybe in the future we will actually see a brighter stance with the DC universe. Like, at the very least, I don't know how the projects are going to be, but at least it does feel like the DC universe will know what they are doing, that they do have a plan, that they will stick with it, and that they will move forward with it. So at least from there, they do seem a little bit more competent than they were before with the Snyderverse. So honestly, there is a lot to say on that. But honestly, I'll be keeping an eye out to see what they are going to do. I mean, like, again, like, we're still like a long way until chapter 1 officially starts. But still, though, like, I will say it's a very promising future, and at least they do have a plan, and it sounds like it's actually run by people who know what they're doing. Now, I'm going to go and take one quick break because there's going to be an ad that will pop up pretty soon. But when we do come back, though, I'm going to know your thoughts. So prepare your comments. So we'll take a quick we'll take a quick break. And when we will return, I will ask you, what do you think about chapter 1? All right, we are back. So now it's time. I would like to ask the chat wall, what do you all think of chapter 1, Gods and Monsters? Let me know what you have in the comments over here. Okay, let's see. Wow, they have already popped out. These announcements got me excited for me. The projects I am most excited about are Superman Legacy, The Brave and the Bold, Lanterns, and Swamp Thing. This is honestly the first time in a long time that I've been excited for DC and could have something to be in the leagues of the MCU. Also, right now, the Snyderverse fanboys crying over their cinematic universe being dead is music to my ears. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that, like, slowly but surely, they are at the point where they are accepting it. I mean, like, they went through several stages of grief, but now they are, like, not all, but some are at the point that they are accepting that the Snyderverse is dead and it's time for them to move on. And if they want to go and enjoy more DC films, they'll have to enjoy the ones that are under Peter Safran and James Gunn. Let's see. So far, the one thing I'm super looking forward to in this new DC lineup is Creature Commandos animated series. The only nitpick, at least in the picture shown, is that the Bride of Frankenstein, the girl with the Marge-like hair, has 2 arms instead of 4 arms like in the comics. As for the rest of the DC stuff, I'll try to check them out if I can, even the 2023 movies. I hope James can fix up these injustices and become a true film god among us. She has 4 arms, you say? I should go and look that up and see how that is. Would that work? I don't know. I am curious, though. I mean, like, Hey, I mean, like the one that we see here, like the one we see here is already pretty hot. Would she still be hot with 4 arms? That I will have to find out after this. Okay, let's see what else we have here. I am definitely hyped to see what James Gunn does with these smaller properties. I am also excited that we're getting a direct book-to-screen adaptation of Superman All-Stars with the Superman Legacy and Supergirl Woman Up Tomorrow turning into a movie of the same name. I am a little worried about Batman. It did not supposed to be a Batman film, but a Damian Wayne film. But hopefully the Flash movie can help fix that up. But it's really rooting of the universe. Okay then. Let's see. This new DC Universe plan, and don't get me wrong about this, but I think this is already looking far better than the Snyderverse was supposed to do. Face it, Snyder fans, your universe failed. We are now getting something better and awesome looking. Heck, I am happy that we are getting an animated show connected to this new universe. James Gunn and crew are taking this up to the next level for DC if things go well, and I wish them the best of luck on this new DC plan. All right. Well, let's see. To me, I am mixed. I am really excited to not only see characters like Booster Gold or even Swamp Thing in the limelight, but also them touching ideas like the Bat Family, which we haven't seen in live action. However, I have issues. This feels like the starting point again, then a reboot. So I don't get why they recasted some of the cast except Waller. I know James is fine with others returning like Gal, but it feels kind of just weird to recast Batman or Supes and letting Gal or Shazam actor return. Exactly. I am definitely on the same page as you. And again, if we are going to do a reset, we should do a full-on reset. Let's see now. If anything else, I admire the sheer ambition of James Gunn's plan. Sadly, I know Warner Brothers and DC too well to get excited. I just know that it's only a matter of time before the studio does something stupid or one of the actors turns out to be a monster. Well, I mean, then again, we already know like some of them are already monsters and WBD is still working with them. Or one movie bombs and they hastily try to overly course correct and ruin everything. Speaking of, is anyone actually excited for Shazam, Fury of the Anti-Vaxxers, The Flasher, or Aqua Abuse Woman? I couldn't think of a joke for Blue Beetle. Well, at least they got Blue Beetle, I guess. Let's see, what other comments do we have? I think I'll read one more before we cap this off because it's been going on for a while. I'm going to stay cautiously optimistic about this whole 10-year plan for DC. Not only is there an actual decent plan, but I'm looking forward to many of these upcoming projects. I'm excited for Superman Legacy, The Brave and the Bold, The Batman Part 2, and I'm curious about the rest of the upcoming movies and shows. Overall, while I didn't trust Zaslav with being in charge of Warner Brothers Discovery, at the very least I could trust James Gunn and Peter Safran with being in charge of DC. Alright, that's pretty much good. And I think with that said, that should cap off today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. I'd just like to go and say thank you all so much for listening and watching, and tune in next time for more crazy stories that are going to be happening on the next episode. I mean, considering that the Super Bowl is going to be happening very, very soon, you never know what interesting trailers will come out and that we will talk about. Also, I would like to go and say that if you guys enjoy this podcast, then don't forget to go and subscribe on my Twitch channel, AniMat Live, and on the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast podcast YouTube channel. And also, don't forget to go and follow me on whatever podcast service that you're listening to, whether it be on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, or more. And also, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.